stuff.
Good stuff when you get a chance to chat with a learned scribe. And here he is. Dan Wiederer has covered the Chicago Bears for the Chicago Tribune since 2013 at Dan Wiederer via the X machine. And here he is. Hey there, Dan. Did you cover the Vikings for the Star Tribune in 2011 and 2012?
That is correct. Yeah,
right.
Those are the 2 years.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, is this current Bears season as bad and distraction-filled as that 3-13 here in 2011?
So I didn't feel like the 2011 year was as chaotic as the record might have indicated. I felt like that team sort of held it together despite all the losing and the failure that they experienced. This year has been something else. I would almost equate it to the 2010 Vikings year that had so many wild twists and turns and things that you left your jaw on the floor week after week after week. You go back to the Hail Mary in Washington, 8 weeks ago, to everything they've experienced during the 7-game losing streak. And it's unfathomable, PA, how they went from 4-2 to the state that they're in now at 4-9 and in last place in the NFC North by a full 5 games at this point in the season.
Wow. Holy cow. Now, in the Chicago Tribune, I believe it's today, true or false, the Chicago Bears might not win a game the rest of the season. What conclusion did you come to, Dan?
Well, the conclusion is true. They might not win another game the rest of the season because they play the 3 division opponents plus the Seattle Seahawks on a short week the day after Christmas. And the way that this team floundered on Sunday in San Francisco gave off the appearance of a team that had nothing left in its emotional fuel tank. And so you have to be worried about this losing streak going from 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 to 11. And at that point, you would think everything would be on the table at Hallis Hall, even if they've already fired their offensive coordinator, even if they've already fired their head coach, because this thing has gone south so fast and in such dramatic fashion that it's hard to imagine anyone would feel safe in their job, given everything that they've experienced here. I had a line in my column coming out of Sunday's game that what happens if the Bears never get the 5th victory that Tyreek Stevenson was celebrating on the field in Washington?
Oh, geez. Hey, well, so now team president Kevin Warren, with the Chicago Bears, what is Kevin's role in the hiring of the next coach?
Yeah, so last week at the news conference they called to formally address the firing of Matty Eberflus, Kevin was emphatic in saying that Ryan Poles would be the point person of the head coaching search. But many around the league who watched that and everybody that was in attendance that day at Hallis Hall really feel like Kevin is going to, if not be in the driver's seat of this coaching search, he's certainly going to be in the shotgun seat with his hand capable of reaching the steering wheel. And so you would expect Kevin to be heavily involved with where they go. He was very clear last week that this is a hire that has high stakes and can change the trajectory of the organization one way or the other for the next 15 to 20 years. And so the Bears have to understand what they're doing here. They have a young, very promising quarterback in place here in Caleb Williams, and they have to absolutely exhaust all options to get this coaching hire right, because if they don't, this cycle that I've been living through for the last 12 seasons is only going to repeat itself one more time.
And Kevin, as you probably know, is quite meticulous, and decisions like this, he's not going to rush to anything here. But just overall, would you? I mean, it's low hanging fruit here, but it certainly makes sense. Would you make Detroit Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson favored for the Bears head coaching job next season?
He would be on my short list. There's no question because of the work that he's done with that offense in Detroit, the magic he's worked with Jared Goff and unlocking his career and taking him to levels that a lot of us didn't think that he could get to. What I'd want to make sure with Ben Johnson is I would want to make sure that I was very confident that he has the presence and the command to navigate a market like this with the pressure and the stage as big as it is in Chicago. And I would want to make sure that he has a connection with Caleb Williams. One of the things that I've heard consistently as I've talked to people around the league the last 2 weeks is that the Bears can't just be seeking a guy who connects with quarterbacks. They have to be, identifying a guy who can connect with this specific quarterback and find a way to really get the best out of Caleb. You guys saw a couple weeks ago that he can be a really special player when he's in the right frame of mind and he's surrounded by everything in a positive manner. you got to find a way to get that out of him on a regular basis, and that's going to start with pairing him with a head coach that he feels really energized working with.
And then on the other side of it, I mean, should Ben want this job, or like outside of Caleb and then the assumed development and potential stardom that can be there, nice receivers too. I mean, it's not like the team's void of talent here, but should the next coach want this job?
Listen, there's a lot to be attracted to with this job. It's Caleb. It's the core that you have assembled here. It's the fact that your draft capital looks really good. You've got good salary cap space. You're in a passion-fueled city here that if you can become the first coach in 20 years to have consecutive winning seasons, they'll start planning your statue. There's a lot that's going to be enticing about this. But if I'm a candidate, I'm also asking, what does the power structure look like? Am I going to be paired with a general manager in Ryan Poles who's on a short leash? And if so, if he gets shown the door at the end of next season or somewhere in the middle of the next year and a half or so, what does that mean for me when you're hiring a new GM? What are the roots of the dysfunction that this organization has been through to the standpoint that they haven't won a playoff game since the end of the 2010 season? They've only had one winning season in the 12 years that I've covered them. There's a lot of questions that you would want to get to the bottom of if you're a candidate. At the same time, all those factors that I just mentioned are going to be attractive, and you're going to say, man, I would love to be the person that unlocks the treasure chest of spoils that come with returning the Bears to prominence.
Well, Dan Wiederer covers the Chicago Bears for the Chicago Tribune. At Dan Wiederer via Twitter, if you're interested, at like 9 to noon is. So last game, I mean, what happened in the first half at Santa Clara? I mean, like, why was it so bad?
So, look, there's a couple reasons that I would point to. Number one, I think you are dealing with an emotionally fatigued team that has had to not only go through what is now a 7-game losing streak, but they week 9 or after week 9, your offensive coordinator is fired. After Thanksgiving, that embarrassment and humiliation led to your head coach being fired. All of those things also create a ripple effect on the people that you're promoting. So they walked into Santa Clara with a interim head coach who had just become their offensive coordinator 3 weeks earlier after previously serving as the passing game coordinator. They walked into Santa Clara with a defensive coordinator who was calling the plays for the first time this season. What you saw was a first half in which the 49ers outgained the Bears 319-4, PA. And if your jaw wasn't on the floor at the end of that performance, I don't know when it would be, because that was an absolute butt whipping. And it leads me to ask the question on whether this team has enough left to finish a season that still has 4 full games left, because they certainly seemed disconnected, disjointed, and really emotionally spent. So
the Minnesota Vikings, Dan, have allowed more than 300 rushing yards in the last 2. It's like 312, something like that. Are the Bears disciplined enough to roll in here Monday and run it with the backs, wide receivers, and Caleb a bunch of times and stick to it?
We were asking that question going into the first matchup, and I was impressed with some of the things that Thomas Brown was able to unlock for the offense, and Caleb in particular, whether it's establishing the run, but also kind of using the quick game with your passing attack to create some of those glorified runs to the outside to guys that can make plays with the football in their hand, DJ Moore being at the top of that list. And so it's going to be a combination of those things to really kind of test Brian Flores. And I was blown away by how well the Bears handled it in the first matchup with a rookie quarterback, seeing that defense for the first time and being able to kind of find answers both before the game and within the game to be productive. You saw obviously the fight that the Bears showed in coming back and being able to push that game into overtime. That should give them some confidence going into this game that they've got some answers. But again, it's always an adjustment game, and we'll see what new wrinkles that the Vikings have and whether the Bears can match those when they get on the field Monday night.
Are there time for 2 more? Are there stark changes to the defense given, or at least developing, given former coach Matt Eberflus crafted and called it?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to get used to a new play caller. And what happened Sunday was one of the elite play callers on the opposite sideline, and Kyle Shanahan, found some wrinkles and absolutely exposed you. And you better have taken the extra day of prep this week to identify why that happened and what you can do to fix it. But certainly there's flux that comes with firing your head coach, who's also been your defensive play caller since the early parts of last year when he took over for the exited Alan Williams in another turmoil-filled season last year. So look, like, there's going to be adjustments. There's going to be changes that are needed. But at some point, your playmakers have to be playmakers, and that's Montez Sweat, and it's Jalen Johnson, it's Tremaine Edmonds, and it's Kyler Gordon, and the guys that you believe are foundational playmakers for you. You better have them step up and make game-changing plays on Monday night.
So, lastly, should we all be on the lookout Monday night for Bears, let's say, business decisions, like those avoiding high-impact contact so, the potential for off-season rehab can be minimized?
Look, I don't see that being an issue yet. I reserve the right to change my mind after the first quarter if it looks like they're in a state where they're not really kind of fighting through some of the things that you mentioned. It's wild, though, PA, because when you look at this through a big picture lens, the Minnesota Vikings hired their general manager a day after the Bears hired theirs. They hired their head coach, 3 weeks after the Bears hired Matt Eberflus. And you looked at two different paths that those teams have taken to get to this stage. And it's absolutely attention grabbing because everyone in Chicago was boasting that, the tank was the best way for the Bears to get into the light. The Vikings made changes at their general manager position, their head coach position, their quarterback position, and didn't have to tear everything down to the studs. And here they are at 11-2, getting ready to play playoff football. And here I am getting ready to go into another coaching search. And so, mind-boggling the way that the different paths in this league lead, and we'll see where they all lead Monday night at Bank of America Stadium.
Well, U.S. Bank Stadium, and
sorry,
that's okay. And we will have a lot to talk about at the Combine 2025, right?
Yeah, I'm in the muscle memory of getting used to figuring out what players are available in the top 10 for a team instead of preparing for playoff football. So yeah, we'll have plenty to talk about. There'll be a new coach, maybe some other changes, and then we'll see where this Bears team takes it from there.
You're fantastic. Thank you, Dan. Have a good day.
All right, see you this weekend.
Yep, see you, bud. Dan Wiederer. It was the snarky scribe. Covers the Chicago Bears for the Chicago Tribune.
Fall down, Chicago Bears. Ha ha ha. You're not in face.
Now, courtesy of Sukup and Sukup.com, it's time to analyze points of pressure. Pressure points. Thank you, Sukup. By the way, when it comes to the perceived or legitimate pressure the Minnesota Vikings are facing, or teams in the NFC North, best division in the NFL, with 4 games to sprint, you are more than welcome to leave a talkback at the free iHeartRadio app. Those of you of the repetitive/learned variety know exactly where to go, but it's quite easy. Find the little microphone, the baby microphone, leave up to 30 seconds, and leave us a talkback on Pressure Points. You can create your own pressure point courtesy of Sukup and Sukup.com. iHeart apps.
Let's go to the talkback machine. Again, as you mentioned, talkbacks, we love them. We love to play them. But here's an example of one, courtesy of the free iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, gentlemen. Jared from Grand Rapids here.
Good morning.
Just giving you guys a talking point, maybe a pressure point for the Viking organization as a whole. We have an opportunity this year to right all of the most recent wrongs in Vikings history. Beating the Eagles in maybe a playoff run, and then maybe going down to New Orleans and winning a Super Bowl where we were wronged for the Bounty Gate. What do you think?
Yeah, what do you think about that, PA? The pressure on the organization as a whole?
Mission Mardi Gras.
While this new regime not fully connected to all of the points of history that Vikings fans wear as scars on their shoulders, on their hearts, and the sleeves of their favorite throwback Vikings jersey, the idea of righting wrongs and conquering all by going to Lincoln Financial and going down to Superdome. Mission Mardi Gras. Mission complete.
Mission complete on Bourbon Street.
Pressure Points.
Hey!
A big easy party when we host the Lombardi.
I would like to go to New Orleans when it's not 100 degrees with 100% humidity, by the way, because the food's good down there. The vibe's pretty cool down there. New Orleans is a cool city. The French Quarter and the architecture of the hotels, the music scene, everything is so awesome when it is not 100 degrees and 100% humidity.
Well, the Minnesota Vikings offense has clearly hit a form of stride off the 5-touchdown passing performance by Sammy D. And you even had a rushing touchdown in there from Aaron Jones. Defensively speaking, they're giving up some rushing yards, but Ivan Pace Jr. returns for the Packers game, I would assume. And, once you go full strength there, I mean, you got some learned corners, you got some hard-hitting smart safeties, and you got some nice pass rushers on the edge. So when it comes to righting the wrongs of Vikings days gone by, I mean, pick your poison with that defense. That's about the only way to look at it.
59th time's the charm.
Now, Pressure Points, courtesy of Sukup and Sukup.com. Sam the man on the fan. Sam the man on the fan. 3 receivers right. Sam Darnold out of the shotgun. Jones picks up a blitzer. Pass right. Caught Addison to the end zone. Touchdown! Jordan Addison makes it 34-21. And for Sam Darnold, that's a high five. For the first time in his career, he's thrown 5 touchdown passes in a game. And for Jordan Addison, that's the first 3-touchdown game of his career.
Ending the pity in the Crescent City.
I wonder how much Sam Darnold is into his phone and paging through social media stuff. Maybe if I had to bet it, I'd say the answer is minimal. But I don't know, and I haven't asked, and I'm not going to ask. But maybe the answer is minimal, which would be sweet because Sam the man on the fan absolutely is the toast of Twitter right now. Dan Orlovsky, quote, he has to be in a similar system to succeed. Dan Graziano, the Vikings would be fools to let him leave. NFL on CBS. Sam Darnold has more passing yards than Lamar Jackson, more passing TDs than Josh Allen, and fewer interceptions than Patrick Mahomes. Fox's Jason Harmon. I'm sorry, but Sam Darnold not being in MVP conversation at this point is genuinely laughable.
New Orleans Cajun, Super Bowl ragin'.
A.J. Brown tweeted, bleep Brandon Graham. I know Keyshawn said it first, but throw me the damn ball. Maybe he's pining for Sam, the man on the fan, to replace Jalen next year in Philly Freedom. But the pressure point is this is all very new for Sam Darnold. The accolades and the adulation and the biggest of big dogs ever to bark, talking about his future and where he's been, where he is, and where he's going. It's all very new for Sam Darnold, and there's pressure that comes with wallowing in sorrow, but also believing the hype. The ability to make unadulterated praise, elevator music, is a gift. To be able to say, honey, Schefter thinks we're getting 150 guaranteed next season. Pretty cool. All right, where do you want to put the Trojans tree this year? That's a gift. Phones, texting, and social media, TV, and radio, and effusive praise. Absolute distractions for many, but the point of pressure, courtesy of Sukup and Sukup.com.
Pressure Points.
Doesn't seem to be affecting Sam the man on the fan. They throw it and they run it, no matter the defense they're facing. I mean, pick your poison with that defense. But the pressure to perform doesn't seem to be impacting Sam Darnold. Instead, he gets better and better. And my guess has the gift of muting the cacophony, the uproar, the verbal clatter. Why? Because if he believed everything people said about him, just a handful of years, he either would have quit the National Football League or stayed with San Francisco as that cushy backup job to Brock Purdy and laid really low. Instead, Sam Darnold embraced the pressure, took a job here, didn't trip when they drafted McCarthy, didn't flinch when just a month and small change ago was questioned hard after some picks at Jacksonville, and now was looking the part game by game, throw by throw. It seems Sam Darnold could not care less what pressure point, courtesy of Sukup and Sukup.com.
Pressure Points.
Could not care less what point of pressure hits him from any angle in terms of what tomorrow looks like. Sam's smart and knows he has enough with which to deal today. Well done, young man. Well done, Sam Darnold.
Pressure Points.
Thank you, Sukup and Sukup.com. I'm looking at the other side of the ball. It's up to Flores' group in prime time to shut the door early.
Speaking of Ohio State, the former Buckeye, C.J. Stroud, is intercepted on the second play of the game. And the ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage. And the Minnesota Vikings have turned over the Houston Texans. Welcome to the lineup, Camus, Brugier, Hill. Ninth year from Eastern Illinois, replacing Ivan Pace, and he came up big.
He did indeed come up big.
Pressure Points.
Flores and his company are the sixth best scoring defense in the NFL, PA. And we absolutely love that. But we've also seen from the last 3 games, teams have been able to get up and down the field on this defense at times. Nearly 500 yards of offense from Kirk and Bijan and those birds this last weekend. Kyler's birds of a different feather went for 400 plus a week ago. And Caleb Williams and those stupid Bears, 398 in the OT thriller at Soldier Field.
Ooh, that was a fat number, the con.
Indeed.
He's the con.
So let's look at Soldier Field. Our favorite team appeared to have a comfortable 24-10 lead into the final frame. But after the Vikings turn it over on downs with a failed 4th and short, the Bears go on a 10-play drive for a touchdown, converting a 4th and 4 en route to the points. Vikings would kick a field goal to make it 27-16 with 2 minutes left. Ooh! Still comfortable, or is it? After the massive kick return,
all right, 3-2.
They go 8 plays in 90 seconds and find the end zone again, get the 2-point conversion. It's 27-24.
Spuntingler.
And then the Bears get the freaking onside kick. That's not Flores' fault, but they do find DJ Moore for nearly 30 yards, wide open. They kick the game-tying field goal to force overtime. Vikings get the 3-and-out on defense in the OT. They drive down, and it's Parker Romo walking off at Soldier Field. So we love that. But we didn't love the drama. We didn't love losing a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. Last week against the Niners, PA, the Bears had 5 possessions in the first half. You chronicled this a bit yesterday. Those 5 possessions included 4 3-and-outs and 3 possessions that went backwards.
Oh, good.
A total of 4 yards of offense in the first half.
Oh, good.
They're down 24 rip. It is absolutely good night Chicago in that moment. So it's putting these guys to bed early. It's early sacks. It's stuffing the run. It's early turnovers. You pair that with Sam handling the prosperity, handling the bright lights, and you have yourself a victory on primetime in Monday night.
Oh! I like that pressure point, courtesy of Sukup and Sukup.com.
In coach speak later on, I'm actually going to play some audio kind of extending on because it was a question that Kevin Seifert asked Brian Flores yesterday during his press conference, specifically about how he, from a philosophical standpoint, deals with yards. Because in some ways, what you heard from me there, the Falcons did put up 500 yards of offense on them this last weekend. Kyler and the Birds put up 400 and change a week and a half ago. And then Caleb Williams, nearly 400 of offense. But what does that mean? We still have, the Vikings do, whether it's their top 2 or 3 in takeaways as a defense. They're the 6th best scoring defense in the NFL. So when you're thinking about it, it's like, ooh, those yards are gaudy, but are they hollow? And it feels like Flores in this defense, in the end, in an 11-2 season, has kept that yardage mostly hollow. And they need to do so again on Monday night, which leads to this.
I like that, the way you put that. Hollow yardage.
Indeed. Thank you, Sue Cup.
The Arizona game is key off that because, as we've mentioned before, the Arizona Cardinals, a bird of a different feather, crafted nearly the perfect game plan to beat the Minnesota Vikings and how they play the game. But the rub there, the problem, is when they got inside the 20, specifically the 10, they just couldn't get into the end zone. So off the Flores defense and the way you laid things out, 154 on the ground, Kyler, James Conner and the gang, then more than 100 in the most recent game, Bijan Robinson, Algier, and so on. Those are two teams, as I brought up yesterday with Kevin O'Connell on X's and O's, those are two teams that run the ball in concerted fashion. I mean, that's just part of what they do. The Chicago Bears, I mean, they've run it, and they've run it, time after time. But Caleb is the atopic with the run. DeAndre Swift is the atopic with catching passes on the perimeter and rolling in from 35 yards or farther. The Texas kid in his second year, Roshan Johnson, missed last game, but I think he plays this game, and he's kind of a bruising beef eater, so you got to be concerned with him. The point being here is, like into the Falcons game, are the Bears disciplined enough to keep Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, Jones, and Darnold off the field by chewing the clock and closing with touchdowns? But the thing is like Arizona came into the game number 1 in the NFL in goal-to-go situations. It was 16 of 17 on touchdowns inside the 10. And it's just Flores' defense, with or without pace, it tightens in a way. You just don't have time to run certain things unless you run it. Like Bijan Robinson, not inside the 10, but I think he had a 13-yard touchdown. And that was inside the red zone, inside the 20. So we have cavernous hole terrorism there. And those have been some situations with the Vikings inside the 20. That has tightened mostly at the right time because the quarterback is required. It's not step fire. There's a thinking part of the equation in there when you're playing this type of defense. Because if you go bam, 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 throw, okay, you may get it once. Bam, 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 throw. Where'd that guy come from? And there he goes. There goes Whoop-bum Van Ginkel style. About 65 to the house for number 6. So it requires a little thinking inside, or more thinking and processing inside the 20 and 10. The same thinking and processing, you just don't have as long to do it. And because of the claustrophobic nature, specifically inside the 10. So all of that plays into everything you said with your excellent pressure point.
Well, I saw this on the talkback machine. I guess we're going to listen to the talkback.
iHeart app,
and then decide if this is a pressure point or maybe it's just the airing of grievances. Let's listen.
Hey, Eric, what up, man? This is Charles out here in EP. Yo, I just got to say, the Vikings fans who was talking crap about Sam when we got him, they owe him an apology. Seriously. There were so many people that was like, what is Sam this, Sam that, he's so terrible, what are we doing? Puke. I seen all the tweets. It's like, come on now. Now what you got to say? That's reason 1,000 why a lot of rubes have no idea about football. Love you guys.
Love you.
Yeah, Charles, Charles was in charge.
Yeah.
Until he took a shot at people supposedly not knowing football.
Let's all gritty in the Crescent City.
Well, here's the deal, though. Is this potentially...
No apology needed.
If you go back to March 12th, 2024, at about 2:48 in the morning, you had somebody write this via X.
Yeah.
This is your new starting QB, Vikings fans. Mm-hmm. You don't pay $10 million to a backup. Well, you shouldn't anyway. Funny how inexpensive the QB position can be when you sign a player nobody else would dare put under center. I've been told 1,000 times wins are a quarterback stat. So here you go. 56 career starts, 21 wins. We're back to the days of starting washed-up journeyman retreads. And that's how we like it in Minnesota. Sleep easy, Vikings fans. You've got the quarterback you wanted and deserved.
Pressure Points.
I got two things on that.
Is there a pressure point potentially for Paul Charchian to change his face?
No. Two things. One.
Loserville sounds better in FM.
All right, that was Loserville, USA, with all caps. Secondly, it takes confidence to formulate big opinions, and it's not for everybody. And sometimes you're the peacock, and sometimes you're the feather duster. And I would rather go down offering up something of conviction and not being of the yellow-bellied pig variety, afraid to formulate opinions because you're afraid of being wrong, and than just sit back in the morose of the gray area. And like Brad Childress said many years ago, those taking pot shots at those who formulate opinions, and they're big opinions, and they're wrong in big fashion. It's like they sit on the mountaintop and watch the battle, and then when the battle's done, they come down and shoot the wounded. You're weak. You're weak. Look in the mirror and recognize you're weak. We'll be right back. The Nords. Let me hit you with a question before news do Nord.
Yeah.
So you leave tomorrow for Army Navy.
That's right.
Which is sweet. Off a tweet of yours that I saw earlier, favorite or one of your favorite weekends of the year, Army Navy?
Yeah, best weekend in sports, absolutely.
Thank you. What leads to that?
It's the game becomes secondary to really honoring not only those that are a part of the military academy at West Point, but also in Annapolis, the Naval Academy. The opportunity to meet and interact with numerous veterans. And it's the festivities, it's the pageantry, the patriotism around it. And again, the football game itself, trying to break down for the most part, the triple option, that's not exactly the most fascinating thing you'll ever go through as a sports fan. Mm-hmm. Although both teams, both Army and Navy, fantastic squads in 2024. So that'll be sweet as well. But it's connecting and creating those relationships and kind of understanding, okay, these guys, that are on the field, they're playing this game. They're high-end athletes. There's no doubt about it. But their connection to West Point and Annapolis, they've also committed to a grander non-sports, a real-life path that puts them in a spot where they're defending our country and potentially, absolute worst-case scenario, maybe sacrificing everything for our country. So whether it was Justin Gard and I for the first time in 2014, I think this will be my 7th or 8th time going.
Very cool.
And it's the absolute best. It'll be the first time it's been at Baltimore and Philly a bunch, and we've missed a couple in between, but this time it'll be actually at FedEx. It'll be in D.C., so it's going to be awesome.
If I were to claim Roger Staubach, former quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, is the greatest player who's ever played in the NFL from the Naval Academy,
I think you'd be honest. Yeah.
You think that'd be accurate?
I don't even think it's close.
But like Army, I'm struggling right now.
Yeah,
Rocky Blyer, who played with Franco Harris for some really, really good Pittsburgh Steelers teams, Super Bowl winning teams. I'm pretty sure Rocky Blyer, and he was like fullback, halfback combo, like Mike Allstott, but not as big. Like Rocky Blyer comes to mind, but
yeah, in recent times, so Pete Dawkins won the Heisman while attending the academy at West Point. So that's kind of a special moment. Didn't really do much in the NFL. Alejandro Villanueva.
Offensive lineman
for the Steelers.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Yeah, he was. And there's a handful of others. But it's been very few and far between. Like Keenan Reynolds was a QB for Navy 7, 8, 9 years ago now.
Yep.
And he got into the NFL. Ultimately, I think he transitioned to play some wide receiver. But it is such a shock when you truly have like an NFL talented, like a blue chipper.
Pat Tillman,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think he might have been Army.
That's a great example. Yeah. So So it's but that's what it goes into. That's why it's the best weekend in sports for me. I mean,
love it.
Vikings going to a Super Bowl. We all got wishes, right? And maybe it's this February, but in terms of a weekend and everything that goes into it, Army Navy is first class all the way. It's the absolute best. And John Kriesel is going to be with me. We'll do some Radio Row stuff on Friday. It'll be awesome.
Which weekend would you prefer? Army Navy weekend or a weekend of tagging prize picks for a dime?
I always love that one.
If it's just a dime, I think it'd be Army Navy. Yes.
Yeah, I got you on that. Okay, lastly, and if I'm putting you in a weird spot here, I apologize. But is this going to be one of those bits where, like, you guys record interviews and we hear them on Saturday?
Yeah,
that's really, I love when we used to do that.
So I'm efforting an interview or two with Dan Barrero down the line while we're there, but Radio Row is going to be specific to Friday.
Yep.
We do record a couple hours worth of pregame content. Ultimately, we are airing the game. This year, I think it's going to be on the Plus because we have a wild matinee on Saturday. But there's going to be podcastable, multiple hours of content with me and Chris there, so it'll be sweet.
I got covenant claps for you guys going back there for that Army Navy.
It's a blast, man.
Well done, brother.
News to Nord is brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. Poker, blackjack, and table games all year round. Tomorrow, the NFL Pick'em game. Get that MVP card. It's free. Pick the NFL games, and if you're right a lot, then you're going to win a lot, as in hundreds of dollars. And they do it weekly on Thursdays at Canterbury Park. To the Minnesota Wild. By the way, when you were making the transition into the TV studio yesterday, and we were wrapping up NDN, neither of us knew what the heck the new nickname was going to be. It's going to be the Yeti, apparently.
The what?
The Yeti.
What's the Yeti?
The Utah Hockey Club.
Oh, the Yeti.
I think that's their nickname. Now, is it Yeti? Is that singular and plural, or is it Yetis?
No, I believe it's the Cardinal. Here's the Cardinal football team. It's all of them. It's not just one bird.
I think so too. The Wild in Utah last night, they had a lead twice. It was 2-1 with a Kaprizov tally.
Salt Lake City or Utah Yeti? Yeah, probably Utah Yeti.
Utah Yeti sounds nice, actually.
And
that's not bad.
And by the way, I mean, even with the Utah Jazz, like when the Jazz and Portland Trailblazers too, Jazz and Trailblazers ain't been good for a little bit. It's like the hardest ticket in that region to get because it's the only pro sports team. And you could kind of tell last night that the crowd really, in fact, with the Vox in the Box tomorrow, I'll start with John Hines. And I want to ask him about, naive's the wrong word, but they were cheering last night at just the simplest, the easy, it was the cutest thing ever.
Were they banging on the glass? And Swedberg was posting about it?
There was no banging on the glass, but it's like just a simple Clayton Keller wrister. Oh, goes the other way. Oh, here comes Keller. It's another twisted wrister. Ooh.
It's got that fresh, relocated franchise smell to it.
Yeah, their uniforms are cool. You described them like I think I asked you the other day, their sweaters.
Well, I said it was white dominant, but they're black dominant.
It was blue, was what I was seeing last night.
Okay, yeah, but like black, blue, and white.
Oh, I see. I like their uniforms. Their fan base looks to be super engaged. Squad's not bad.
No.
Logan Cooley, though. I mean, that's they got a nice little thing going there. And it was cool to hear that the Jazz and the soon-to-be Yeti, well, they've really embraced each other. Like, the marketing teams are helping each other.
Okay.
I don't know if sales is helping each other, when it comes into the grind that thing is. But nevertheless, they're like supporting each other, trying to keep buildings full and keep peace.
And sports is indeed a community. To the game itself, we found a tie in the final minute with some magic from Rossi.
Boldy left point with a pass. It ricocheted free, came right back to him. Boldy now forced it to Johansson, right circle, thrown in front for a shot. He scored! Marco Rossi has tied the game! 43.2 seconds left, and the Wild have pulled even at 4!
That did make it 4-4 in an overtime. No goals, goes to a shootout. And Tom Reed, longtime analyst, Minnesota Wild Radio Network, next to Joe O'Donnell. The Christmas colors were compelling him. They were in his veins, and it compelled a proclamation.
He's going to score.
What?
I like the sound of it. Picked up a helper on the game tying goal by Rossi late in the third. His 199th career point. Boldy saunters over the blue line, wide right. Picks up the pace a bit. Middle of the ice, Boldy on his forehand to his backhand. He scores! You called it TR as he goes blocker side, and the Wild, if they get a stop from Gustafson here, win this hockey game.
And they did get a stop.
Wow, I got a lot of respect for those of the functioning, prognosticating ilk. Tom Reed predicted Matt Boldy would score in the shootout and win the game, and he was right.
And he was. Absolutely.
Beautifully done there, Tommy.
And you mentioned it, Vox in the box, highest point percentage in the NHL. They are still tied, I believe, in points 42 with said Jets, but all the same, feeling good about things. Edmonton in town tomorrow. You're going to have the head coach. You're going to have Russo. There should be a Gorg appearance. There's got to be Al, right? Staylock in the mix tomorrow, yes. Doing Vox in the box.
10:30 until close.
Oh, beautiful.
Ryan. So it goes like this. Gorg, first two segments. John Hines, coach of the Wild, right out of the gate. KG and yours truly up to the 42. At 9:47, Bob Motzko, coach of the Golden Gophers hockey team, joins. Russo Radio at 10 o'clock. YA, young Alexa Staylock. 10:30 to close. Ryan Carter joins us at 11 o'clock.
Oh, beautiful thing. Out of the NBA Cup, the Bucks battled the Magic and won 114-109. Sounds like you got the chance to see some of that there. And the Magic, maybe undermanned in some ways, battled the Bucks to the close. Bucks going back to Vegas. I think they were in the big cup bit last year as well. And then OKC, I did see some of that. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I mean, when we're talking about how muddy this West is, like just watch more of the Thunder once in a while and just casually appreciate how good some of that team looks at times.
Well, Hartenstein returned 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And gets every single rebound of every missed shot in the history of the NBA. I mean, my man might have a 30-rebound game this year if he keeps boarding like this.
He picked up right where he left off at his peak with the Knicks. But the Mavs closed the gap at half. They just got crushed in the third, and It was over. Hawks at the Knicks and the Dubs at the Rockets tonight. The winners will face Bucks and Thunder at some point on Saturday. And I don't know.
And then the next week is the Cup finale.
Well, I don't know which day the actual final is going to be. Could it be Monday? But I believe the Saturday semis are in Vegas, and then that final is going to be there too. Maybe that is indeed on Monday.
Right.
But the schedule still says TBD across the board for all of those. I know we're running out of time. News to Nord. I don't know if you followed this at all, but it started, if you remember, back in September. Mike Conley does the Gallarhorn at a Vikings game, and like his house was burglarized.
Mike Conley of the Wolves?
Mike Conley of the Wolves, yeah.
Jeez.
Well, the reason I bring this up is Joe Burrow's house was broken into during Monday Night Football when they beat the Cowboys the other night down in Dallas.
Yeah, like when he was down in Dallas away and everybody knew he was gone.
But and that's the exact thing is this article from ESPN.com, the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce were broken into in October. In the NBA, speaking of the Bucks, Bobby Portis had his home broken into. And they mentioned Mike Conley in here as well. Portis, he must have gotten some expensive things stolen. He's offering a $40,000 reward.
Damn.
But this in accordance, let me see, via the Associated Press, the NFL said homes of professional athletes across multiple sports have become increasingly targeted for burglaries by organized and skilled groups. The NBA revealed that the FBI has connected some burglaries to transnational South American theft groups.
Oh, wow.
That are reportedly
all based out of Aurora, Colorado. All right, 3-2.
They know where the apartment building is.
You're shocked that I knew that, right? All right, 3-2.
I'm not shocked. How's the flight attendant doing?
Right.
But that's nutty though.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in some ways I'm not thinking just naturally like, how am I going to steal someone's stuff? But if you are a high profile person and they can watch you on live TV, well, they know you're not home, I suppose. And apparently some gal that Burrow is dating, either I think she came home like shortly after it. She ended up calling the police and such. But watch out, watch your stuff. Get a camera, get a security system, I guess.
This is the greatest news that private security companies all around the country have gotten. I mean, they to like, you know, one person's trash is another person's treasure. So sadly somebody got their house picked, but next time somebody's going to call private security and drop $4,000 for a couple of games. You can have people hiding in bushes. Well, that's what they should do, hide in bushes and bust this cartel when they jump over the chain link fence trying to get into my living room.
Well, Bobby Portis would probably rather pay $20 $20 grand to private security.
But I'm still tripping that people are ripping off Bobby Portis. I mean, what's Dame Lillard have in his house? I mean, you know what he has that Bobby Portis doesn't have? Private security. I mean, more so than just the ring cam. I mean, Bobby Portis has 2 ring cams and thinks he's covered. Oh yeah, but it records and has audio. Who cares? They wear masks and they speak different languages. It's crazy. Picking up Bobby Portis, seriously. You rob Austin Jackson's house and you're going to be taking rolls of quarters and dimes and being upset. Oh, wow. All right. News to Nord.
Leave Bobby Portis alone.
News to Nord, courtesy of Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. Around the corner, the Vox of all Voxes, Everett of Vox. He's Alan Roach, voice of U.S. Bank Stadium, and I love him. And you do too. Roachy is next.